Incoming transmission.
The Klingon word of the day is Tep.
These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise.
So, this is a huge victory for the good guys.
Scotty, beam me up.
Resistance is futile. Live long and prosper.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings and welcome to the Computer Resume podcast, the show covering the entire Star Trek franchise in chronological order for fans new and old. I'm your host, writer, comedian, Mr. Todd A. Davis. From his basement, where he's currently hiding from his wife and children and thinking of nothing except starting another podcast, it's Drew Burriss! Yay!
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
How you been, man?
I've been doing really good. There has been a lot of a particular captain's name in the news this past week.
I think I know what you're referring to. What do you got?
So, I mean, there was this this big game that happened last week.
Was it? If you had to describe it in size, would you say it was super?
Superb. If it was a bird, it'd probably be an owl.
Oh, okay.
It'd be a really good owl. It'd be like a superb owl.
Okay. Yeah. Super. Okay. All right. It has something to do with birds, doesn't
it? Birds of prey? No.
No. So anyways,
that's a different starship and a different comic book affiliation.
Yeah.
There's a particular trailer for a new Marvel movie came out, and of course that movie might be out by the time this episode releases. I'm not sure when that movie's coming out. And we hear a particular line of a particular person, and if that's not Patrick Stewart, I will deep fry and eat a hat.
You heard it here first, folks.
I have said this many times, maybe too many. And I'm starting to doubt myself, despite the fact that I would know that voice anywhere. If that is an impersonator, it is a very, very good impersonator.
It could be Brent Spiner. He has a really solid Patrick Stewart impression.
Brent Spiner's in this movie. I'll eat a visor.
Hey, there we go. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, the new Doctor Strange movie that's coming had a teaser during the Super Bowl, and we are pretty sure, we actually talked about this a little bit before we started rolling, we are pretty sure that we heard Patrick Stewart in that trailer, which means we might get the X-Men crossover we've been longing for so long, and I'm so excited. But you're absolutely right. Like, his voice is so distinct, and I know it's the voice of my childhood, or at least one of them. How could that not be Patrick Stewart?
It has to be. It has to be. I don't know. He has gone on record as of yesterday saying that people have been doing impersonations of him since he first set foot on the stage in the 1960s. And of course, when he said it, it sounded a lot cooler and refined, and dignified.
Of course.
Well, my Patrick Stewart impression, not very good.
I'll refrain from doing mine here, although I've gotten positive feedback on it.
But I'm sorry, I might need to hear this right now.
Okay, I tell you what, we'll save that for your finale appearance. Let me iron out a couple of wrinkles and let me see if I can make it happen again.
Work on it for a week.
Yeah, I'll work on it for a week, since I didn't do your other homework assignment and listen to the other version of Faith of the Heart.
Well, there's another week for that too.
But before we depart from the idea of the multiverse, I read an article earlier this week from Screen Rant about their idea for Star Trek 4. Now, I mean, apparently it's been on again, off again. Yes, it's happening. Well, we're not sure. Okay, it's for sure. Now, who's going to do what? We don't know. But they were saying the long and short of it with the Screen Rant article was that it was too late to do a Star Trek 4. It's been too long of a gap. Nobody really cares about that cast anymore. I I disagree. I think those movies are a lot of fun despite their flaws. It's just fun Star Trek alternate universe type stuff. Like if you dig the mirror universe, this is just another universe, and it's a lot of fun to play with. I think they got a great cast and great production. I'm all for it. But
I think they were turning those movies around with Beyond.
Yeah, I think so too.
I enjoyed the first movie a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Walking out of Into Darkness, I had a good time. But as I reflected upon Into Darkness as the days and months and weeks and years went on, I'm a big opponent to that film.
Wow.
I do not like Into Darkness. I think that there are too many plot holes, too many other things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's a whole other conversation that we don't need to get into, because I'd probably need to see it again to have an honest conversation about it.
Right. But the big point.
But Star Trek Beyond was great. I love Star Trek Beyond.
Yes. And then the article made a point to say, hey, look, 2009 hit and did gangbusters. Part 2 Into Darkness came out and made a lot of money, but a lot of people didn't like it. And then Beyond came out and a lot of people liked it, but it didn't do very well in the box office. They said, look, if you really want to revisit these characters in a world where multiverses are happening in our media, see the Marvel universe, which we were just talking about, have them crossover. There's lots of crossovers happening already. Have them cross over into one of the TV shows. And I don't know. I'd be down for that. I think it'd be fun. It'd have to be like this huge epic event or like a series finale type scenario.
But
I think
even something like that is there's a fine line. And I will say the closest they have gotten to anything approaching that, and they did it very well, expertly, you might say, is in Deep Space Nine, Trials and Tribulations, when you had Deep Space Nine cast go back in time to the original series era and put on the costumes, and they use the Forrest Gump technology to insert them into scenes and all of that. Yeah. Like that's great. I don't trust the creative forces behind either current Star Trek productions on Paramount Plus and Paramount Pictures, Bad Robot, whoever happens to be running that, to do that and not have it feel off.
Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be, like I said, it would have to be something so huge in terms of narrative of like, man, how are they going to get out of this?
Well, it does strike me that there has already been a crossover between the Kelvin timeline, as it is officially called now, and the original timeline
with Spock going over.
Well, I guess there's been 2 then.
Oh, I'm missing one. What am I missing?
Because in Star Trek Discovery season 3, where spoilers for Star Trek Discovery, the ship is transported hundreds of years into the future. Okay. We are introduced to a person who has been, because this is post the time wars, the temporal Cold War. Right. We are oddly not directly referenced in the Enterprise episode we watched today, but a big part of Enterprise as a whole is this temporal Cold War, right? Where they introduce this sort of faction of the Federation that is monitoring all these things. I don't know if they have identified it because I'm behind on season 4 of Discovery, but they introduce a character who crossed over a particular year, and that particular year is the year that the Narada came through.
Oh, okay. I didn't put that together with the timeline.
They only mention it. They mentioned, like, I think that in a sector of space, it was an alien species that we have never seen before. They were actually wearing the wrong uniform in the preview footage, and then they had to digitally fix it because he was wearing a TNG season 1, season 2 uniform with the stripe.
Oh,
but
okay.
In the next time on footage, he's wearing the late DS9 Voyager com badge, this com badge, and the oval com badge. This is the kind of, I'm sorry.
No, this is great. This is great.
I sometimes forget when I just go off on rambles about the just the minutia of this stuff, that it's like, remember, people are listening to this.
This is a safe space. We started with Marvel, but we are deep into Trek now.
So yeah, that's the second crossover between the JJ timeline, the Kelvin verse, and the original timeline. And it's a character who only appears as a hologram, doesn't have a single line, is just a guy standing there.
Wow.
And thanks for listening to my TED Talk.
Oh, it's funny because a couple of people have asked me, because we're covering this in chronological order, if I'm going to cover the Kelvin timeline, how am I going to do it? Like, are we going to do it all as one thing, or are we going to do just a short series of the Kelvin timeline? And to be honest,
I say the
short answer is I don't know.
I mean, there's really only 3 episodes that you're going to get out of the Kelvin timeline.
Well, because I'm also covering the comics attached to them. There was a comic series for the first one and for Into Darkness. And I mean,
and they were canon. They were Star Trek canon for the first time. And because that's something that I don't know if you've talked about the alpha canon and beta canon of Star Trek literature, that
I haven't gotten into it much, just because I'm such a slow reader. Comics are about all I can handle. There's so many Star Trek novels out there. I couldn't even hope to dent it with everything else I'm trying to do.
But that's the thing about Star Trek novels, is that unlike the Star Wars expanded universe and the old Star Wars expanded universe, they wrote a lot of novels. The novels do not matter. They were never considered anything other than just people deciding to write them, and that includes the youth focused novels of the Starfleet Academy books that I owned all of, and I had the action figures. They had an action figure line for the Starfleet Academy books. I gotta find out, actually. I know exactly where those action figures are. They're in a bin right there, 5 feet from me.
Go get them.
Well, it's in a. There's stuff on top of the bin. It's my entire Star Trek collection. Maybe next
throw them up
week
on your Instagram. Something with them. Hey, it's because I'm dangerously close to. I found this little gem at my local comic book store. It's one of the Gold Key comics. They had a handful of them. So I was just like, I went there to grab some D&D stuff, and was like, I'm gonna grab a Gold Key issue of Star Trek just for shit, or for shit and giggles.
All right, next week I will dip in. I'm gonna have to do a lot.
I tell you what, because you strike me as a guy who has a lot of cool Star Trek swag. Next week, let's each pick 3, like our best 3 pieces of Star Trek memorabilia, and maybe we'll do it as a bonus episode.
Okay.
Will that work?
Yeah.
All right.
I've already got one picked out. It's one that
okay. All right.
Zip my lips right there.
Mum's the word.
All right.
Okay.
Last movie thing. Did you see they leaked what the Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie was going to be?
No.
Oh yeah, it's not happening.
Well,
Definitely not happening.
Yeah.
It would have been Tarantino R-rated.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But what was his whole thing?
It was based on that TOS episode where they go to the planet and it's like the 1930s gangsters. Is that not The Big Goodbye? What is that one?
Let's see.
A Piece of the Action.
Yep, that's it.
So it was going to be based on A Piece of the Action, except instead of just going to a 1920s style gangster planet, it was going to involve time travel, and the crew of presumably the Enterprise, but potentially another ship, was going to end up going back in time to the 1920s. The movie would largely take place in the 1920s, with very little taking place on the ship itself. It
might be fun.
I could see it working, but I could also see it not. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of I see. I don't know. I feel like with Quentin Tarantino, you'd get like the opening of the movie. Like it would just like the movie would just start and it would get about halfway through. And then like someone at the con would turn around to Kirk and be like, sir, I'm reading a disturbance. And they don't even finish their sentence and it just cuts off. And like you'll see the cigarette burn in the corner of the screen. And then the trailers start, like the trailers for here's what's upcoming from such and such and blah, 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 blah. And then what you think is actually a different movie altogether. Like you saw a scene that someone had cut in from the new Star Trek movie, and then it just goes away. And then this 1920s movie starts, and it's not, 15, 20 minutes into that you actually finally get a look at, Kirk and the crew, in fedoras and and doing their thing. Like, oh, okay. So the disturbance that happened, like pulled the ship in. And then like at the end, we they actually go back to like, okay, when this disturbance happened, we got sucked in and now we're here. And then
Tarantino has name checked yesterday's Enterprise on stuff when he's talking about Star Trek as when the Enterprise C flies through and everything just suddenly flashes and is different. Like,
why not? Look, I championed someone hiring Guillermo del Toro to do a short Trek episode. I think they need to start doing more of that stuff of like, hey, let's bring them in to do a short Trek. And then it's you remember that series Masters of Horror? Like, let Paramount reach out to some of these, big name film directors and be like, hey, look, you got 20 minutes. We'll give you 20 minutes to do a Star Trek short. Here's everything you got at your disposal. And whatever story you want to do.
Paramount Plus, if you need producers for this content, if you need, people to put things together and make sure that everybody's on the same page, I'll do it. I'm really busy, but I can make some time.
Okay. Well, all right. Twist my arm. Fine. Whatever.
We'll produce the show and take a co-creator credit. It's fine.
Oh man. But okay. So enough dancing around Star Trek, out the outskirts of Star Trek. Let's get into what really matters. This season 3 episode of Enterprise. Oh man, what'd you just cursory thoughts? Like what'd you think of this episode off the bat?
Honestly, pretty good. This was a decent episode.
Yeah, I really like it.
I took a lot of notes about this, which is usually indicative of me wanting to make notes of things that I like and want to talk about.
Well, I mean, should we go ahead and into the recap and then let's just let loose the floodgates?
Yeah, let's recap it up.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
The enemy has created a device.
I want to know where the weapon is being built and when it's going to be ready.
That will destroy Earth.
Looks like some kind of countdown.
You have to get out of here!
Then, in 2 weeks, the unthinkable happens.
Earth
Destroyed.
Star Trek Enterprise.
At the Xindi Council, Degra reports that the weapon to destroy Earth should be ready in a matter of weeks.
sucks.
The coordinates provided by Tarquin in last week's episode lead Enterprise to a planet, and the crew decide to hide the ship behind a moon, while a space bus crewed by Archer, Reed, and Major Hayes makes its approach.
What's he gonna do when they come for you?
Evading detection, they land and enter a Xindi settlement, where they find a great quantity of chemosite being refined.
Great.
They observe Gralik Dur and 2 associates discussing the deal they have to mine the chemosite for Degra. The away team beams up a canister of chemosite for analysis, and then follow Gralik back to his home, where they confront him. T'Pol's analysis shows that the Xindi probe which attacked Earth back in Season 2, Episode 26, contained chemosite.
I'll have to take an extra strength vitamin duh.
Archer then tells Gralik that Degra will use the chemosite to build a weapon, but the Arboreal denies any knowledge of the plan.
Meanwhile,
Back on Enterprise, Trip also learns that the chemosite is the key to reptilian rifle technology. Archer approves his idea to reverse engineer a rifle, but Trip unknowingly triggers a self-destruct sequence and the weapon is beamed into space where it explodes. On the planet, Archer decides not to destroy the Chemocyte mining complex, as he doesn't want the Xindi to think of them as aggressors.
Great.
Greylick explains that Degra told him that the Chemocyte was for research, and explains how the avian race were assumed to be made extinct in the Xindi Civil War. A reptilian shuttle arrives early, carrying Degra, to collect the final shipment of Chemocyte.
Sucks.
Greylick takes the away team to a cave that will protect them from scans, but they are soon discovered by robotic drones sent by the reptilians. When Greylick returns home, he is confronted by Degra, who reveals the true purpose of the Chemocyte, to build a weapon to destroy a ruthless alien species.
Meanwhile,
T'Pol modified the canister of Chemocyte so that Enterprise can track it. Archer manages to sneak it aboard the Xindi shuttle, and after the reptilians leave, Archer thanks Greylick for his trust and help.
I don't care.
Okay, so since you've got copious notes on this episode, let me just put out my 2 cents here before I let you, open the floodgates here. I love a good heist and a good heist movie. And this made me want to see sort of an Ocean's 11 type thing with within the Star Trek universe. I don't know.
Archer's 11.
Yeah, Archer's 11. Oh, that would be so great. Yeah, how do you do you have any favorite heist movies?
I mean, Ocean's 11's a pretty good one. Sadly, though I do enjoy a good heist movie, right now, anytime I think of heist movies, I can only think of the Rick and Morty episode where they make fun of heist movies. And that is occupying my entire brain when it comes to heists right now.
Nice.
And that's not fair to heist movies.
Although, to be fair, Rick and Morty probably just as well written.
Yes, I mean that episode in particular is fantastic.
Awesome. Well, okay, so that's really all I got. Let's go ahead and dive into your notes about this episode. What do you got?
So I mentioned in the last episode that I am not the biggest fan of Captain Archer as a character.
Right.
And that plays a lot into this episode, but it doesn't, he gets a little redemption for me here.
Yeah.
And that is all based around the character of Greylick Dur.
Mm-hmm.
Greylick Dur, who is a Xindi arboreal. And by the way, I'm sure you've talked about the Xindi already. That whole concept of the Xindi as 6 different intelligent species that come up on the same planet, like that's cool. Star Trek has done that. They've done in the past like 2 intelligent species that come up on the same planet, and others have done that. But 6, and to have them all, that's, I don't know. I like that a lot. It's something that you don't see done very often.
It's a cool concept for sure. And I think it's an interesting way to examine. I think it's an interesting way to examine race relations and, international differences amongst ourselves. But I mean, they just depict them as one giant evil thing trying to kill us all. So maybe that says more about the writers.
Well, they do and they don't, because in this episode we learn from Greylick what happened to the Xindi avians,
right? And
the destruction of the Xindi home planet that we found out about earlier in the season. Though we find out why is a result of this gigantic civil war between all of the different Xindi species before they came together somehow. That I'm not sure that that's been explained yet, or if it's ever explained on screen. But this is where Greylick, having that connection to the past, his grandfather lived on Xindi Prime and would just tell him about the planet and all the avians flying around and the sky full of them, and not wanting to be a part of that and feeling guilt that his production of Chemocyte is the thing that allowed that to happen. Chemocyte, nerd alert. Yeah, that's a new bumper for you. You can use that.
Don't think I'm not clipping that out for sure.
This is not the first time that Chemocyte has appeared in Star Trek. It has appeared a couple of times, but in the most probably notable episode that Chemocyte shows up in is Deep Space Nine's Little Green Men, where where it is Quark smuggling chemosite on his shuttle is responsible for Quark, Ram, and Nog getting transported back to the 1940s and being the Roswell aliens in a fantastic episode. I may have read this wrong, but I believe this episode might have been written by the same person. We'll look this written by Chris Black and Brent Friedman. Let's see.
Nope. Different
well, then
folks.
never mind.
Yeah, that would have been cool though.
That, then.
Little Green Men was written by Tony Marbury and Jack Trevillo.
Then not any of the people that I mentioned. So you know what? I retract my previous nerd alert.
That's okay. That's all right. This is a safe place. But
talking about Greylichter is also where there's a lot of present day politics. Well, of the time, because this would have come out in 2004, 2003,
I think. Yeah.
And talking about chemosite and how it needs to be properly made and properly purified, and however they call it, in order for it to be used for what they're using. You might also call that weapons grade chemosite.
Yeah.
and if you look at 2003 and things that were going on worldwide at that point, a lot of season 3 of Enterprise is
searching for weapons of mass destruction.
Searching for weapons of mass destruction, borrowing heavily from the politics of the day in a way that Star Trek had not really done since the original series, honestly.
Yeah, I think the TNG era really focused on sort of popular culture and things that were going in that direction, and not really staying tight to the political dealings of the day like TOS did. But I think with 9/11 happening like right at the beginning of this series, I don't think the writers' room could ignore something like this, and definitely need to talk about it.
That raises a very interesting concept, and possibly a very heavy one, so feel free to completely deflect from what I'm about to say. But as a child I was born in the 80s, I grew up in the 90s. I spent my teenage years, like I was 16 in the year 2000. It's one of those things where, as I look back with fondness of that time, and I think back about it, it was a time that, yes, we had, political struggles. We had all of this, the same kind of stuff, but from a, middle-class American standpoint, the world was doing all right. We had hope. We had all this stuff that was going to happen. Right. We had, bright colors everywhere, and we were recycling and all of these things that happened. And
we were still living off of all of our Y2K prep.
Well, but even pre
canned goods and
even pre Y2K, it's like if you look at the media of the 90s. Everything. I mean, it was just a generally more hopeful time. And I say that not trying to imply anything, but then 9/11 happens and everything changes, and the world is never the same after that. That sense of safety, that sense of prosperity turned into something different. And that is where this season of Enterprise in particular is really capitalizing. That's where the Battlestar Galactica reboot, which I guess didn't start until 2004. I always think of them being the same time, but they were kind of spinning up slightly off kilter from each other. And that is one of those things that is reflected here in a way that I don't think I necessarily gave it that credit the first time that I was watching it. And I say that to talk a little bit about Archer. So Archer as a character, I love Scott Bakula. I have nothing against Scott Bakula. I think, in fact, his performance as Archer is great. But I look at Archer versus, Picard, Kirk, Janeway, Cisco, these people at the top of their game. And I look at Archer, he got the captaincy because his dad made the ship. He doesn't always know how to handle things diplomatically. there was that whole episode where his dog peed on the sacred tree on this planet. And it's like, why did you take the dog? Why did you take the dog? and the way he kind of throws himself around in a very American expansionist way.
Yeah.
Like you'd see the same kind of thing in old Westerns. You see it a lot but he's also very much a character of the early 2000s America, as he is the old West America. And that's notable here in that he is very rightly extremely angry with Greylick and Xindi, and he's pointing a gun in this guy's face. There are not many Star Trek captains who will point a gun in someone's face to threaten them.
Oh, yeah.
And Archer does that. It is the most interesting Archer by far, but it is my least favorite version of Archer because it's so opposite of what a Star Trek captain should be. Mm-hmm. But it works. It works in this moment. And as you go through this episode, and and Greylick and Archer sort of bond, and he tells them the story of Xindi Prime, and they start to trust each other, and you see real change happening. And all of a sudden, Archer, who was gung-ho about destroying that facility, it's like, well, maybe we should put up some blast shields so that we only destroy the facility, nothing else. And then if we destroy this facility, they didn't know what was going on, and we could look as like aggressors. We could be the people that the Xindi Council think we are.
Yeah.
And that growth that you see over the course of this episode it feels natural, and it really, really, really works.
Yeah, I think we got a glimpse of that. I think we got a glimpse of that in the season 2 finale when Earth was initially attacked. And then, Archer having to sort of keep his emotions in check while also trying to comfort his friend Trip, who just lost his sister. Oh, and probably a ton of other people too. I mean, Earth lost, forget how many
7 million people.
Yeah, 7 million people. And then jump forward to the episode Anomaly, which we talked about with my wife Kat in our anniversary episode a little while back, where Archer, they capture one of these pirates, and Archer tosses them in an airlock and just go ahead and depressurizes it, and just like, okay, let me know when you're ready to talk. Like, holy crap. Like he is done, dude. He's like, yeah, diplomacy out the window. Like, you're going to tell us what we want to know, or you're going to die.
that is a Cisco obliterating that Maquis planet atmosphere kind of move. Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's kind of been a lot of the fun and games up until this point of like, oh, my dog peed on your tree. Guess I'm going to have to do this chainsaw ritual. Like, and nope. Stuff, it's getting real, man. Oh, golly gee, shucks, I just want to watch the water polo match.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this has been long overdue. And I think we are really getting certainly some great performances out of Scott Bakula and some real character growth, because now we're seeing him, okay, you were kind of appointed to be captain, but let's see you earn it.
Yeah.
And these are the opportunities he has to earn that captain's chair. And it's not so easy.
No, and you see him making this having this growth and making this connection. And obviously it's not putting a human face on things, but it's putting a human face on the Xindi people that they have not yet done so. So far they've been, I think that they've really only seen Xindi through the sphere transmission that they got. That
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think they've had a lot of interaction with the Xindi other than folks who have also interacted with Xindi. But not much of anything. I mean, and that's one of the things I mentioned a couple episodes back about how they, production wise, I think it would have been smarter to have these figures in shadow. I mean, we've got some great prosthetics, we've got some great digital effects, and that's all well and good. But we see them, like, take a page out of Spielberg's book. Don't show us the shark. Like,
well, they were trying to do. they were trying to keep that for their like weird 30th century man in black, whatever transmission person that they never paid off because the show got canceled.
Yeah. What else you got for this episode, man? Huh?
So that is one thing. I really loved the stuff on the planet between Archer and Grey Lictor. I did appreciate the Tucker Flocks comedy cavalcade of them trying to figure out this gun.
Yeah, for sure.
Taking it apart, finding out it has biological components to it, and we'll bring in Phlox. It's like, oh yes, Commander, if you expose it to this specific radiation, it will kill it, but don't expose it to this radiation. It makes them reproduce frantically. Like, just oh geez. And of course, leading to them trying to fire the weapon in on the ship to test it. T'Pol not too happy with this idea, and you know what I say to that? Say T'Pol was right. They're right next to the photonic torpedoes. Why are they firing this unknown weapon right next to the most powerful weapons on the ship? It doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Why are you doing this, Trip?
Well, you know what? They've had firing range practice in there too a couple times, and I'm thinking, really, tactical officer? You want to do it right next to the torpedoes? Jeez.
But here's another nerd alert. It's a little different take if you want to use that one. They set up a series of force field emitters inside the armory when they're in front of a duranium plate that they're going to shoot this gun at. Mm-hmm. Did you make a note of anything interesting about those force field emitters?
Nothing that jumps out at me.
They're little round circular discs that have these 4 little pointy antennas coming off of them. Mm-hmm. Those antennas were modeled after Uhura's space Bluetooth.
Oh yeah! Oh my god, that's hilarious! Wow.
Or if they weren't modeled on them, they definitely look a lot like them, because that is exactly what those things look like to me.
It's all coming back around.
Yeah. Beyond that, oh man, I got to go through all these notes because I have so much on my list here. Other little things. The drones are fun, but made little sense to me. Needed an action. They needed an action scene in the episode, and they got one. Yeah. I did love little tiny CG Archer running to the CG ship. That was very funny.
Yeah. Oh man.
And last but not least, when Archer is sneaking onto the ship to plant the altered chemosite, because this is beautiful. They don't have chemosite that is like gonna blow up the weapon or anything like that because they get caught. They just have chemosite that's got a little tracking module in it that they can find. And of course, Degra and the Xindi reptilian are starting to walk back to the ship right as Archer's still on it. It's like, y'all got a transporter. I know y'all don't use the transporter for people, but it's not like you haven't transported Archer himself before. Just beam the boy out. He'll be fine.
Yeah. Got a ship full of McCoys of like, I don't want my atoms scattered to the winds.
Well, in McCoy's case, I kind of agree with McCoy.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, well, we were talking about I think I was discussing that with one of my former guests on the show about, if they basically just store your chemical makeup and your synapse pattern, making your transporter pattern, do they essentially kill you and then just build you a new body and insert all the chemicals and electrical synapse fires to make you? So essentially, I mean, when you are transported, you're killed.
Is the transporter a death trap is a common question. And I think yes. I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. But even if it's not, like, think back to Star Trek The Motion Picture when McCoy's going to get beamed up to the ship. Who beams up right before him? That Vulcan lieutenant that dies horribly on the transporter pad. Like, I don't blame him for the way he feels about that.
You got anything else about this episode?
So I do want to give a big call out to the actor who plays Greylick John Cothran Jr. I know you have a section about cast members of this. He's a name that you have seen in other episodes. He plays a lot of aliens. He's played a couple of Klingons. He was one of the Klingons in the TNG episode The Chase, which is a fun episode.
Nice.
But he was also one of the characters, and this is I warned you about my little side trip, my Star Trek side trip today. He was a character in the Star Trek FMV Myst style game, Star Trek Borg.
Really?
Have you ever heard of this game before?
No. I mean, I'm familiar with the video game Myst, but I didn't realize they did a Star Trek one of those.
Yes. I never got to play this back in the day because I didn't think my computer could run it. But as I look at it now, according to Memory Alpha, at least my computer could have run it. And now I'm kicking 1996 Drew for not finding a copy of this. But Star Trek Borg, out in 1996, is about Cadet Kalen Furlong. Your father was killed by the Borg in the Battle of Wolf 359. Now, 10 years later, the Borg are attacking again, and Starfleet won't allow you to stay aboard the starship USS Cheyenne to avenge your father's death. But Q will. He'll do better than that. In fact, he'll take you back in time 10 years and put you on the same ship as your father and give you a chance to save him and the entire Federation. It's a mission of extreme danger, difficult choices, and surprising results.
Ooh.
And it plays out like Myst, but with like actors in costumes, doing different things. And notably, as I have looked this up, it is the only appearance of John Delancey in a Borg costume.
Really?
It is also the only appearance in John Delancey in a Science Blue Starfleet uniform.
Ooh, so everybody look for that on our Instagram.
Yeah, Memory Alpha has the picture of the Q Borg, but not the Science Blue Q, which is just fun. This is where I got confused. One of the writers of Star Trek Borg wrote Little Green Men, that episode. That is where I was getting my wires crossed, because again, I did a lot of looking at this today, and
that's awesome though.
Yeah,
that sounds like fun. There's got to be a cheap version of the game out there, because that must have come out mid to late 90s. 96. So the question is, if you can find it, could you actually find something to play it on? And that's what I will spend some time figuring out later. Yes, please. And here's your other homework is report back to us. You're going to be our correspondent, our field correspondent for the show. We'll have you search out old Star Trek games and just report back.
I played a lot of them back in the day too.
Wow.
Most of them not very good.
Yeah, there were a lot of them that weren't very good, I imagine. Well, as we do every week, we take a look at the episode and we ask ourselves, who do we blame? This episode was written by Chris Black. His last episode was season 3, episode 4, Regine. He did the teleplay for this, and then Brent V. Friedman, who also worked on Regine. He did the story and teleplay for that episode. This episode was directed by Mr. David Straighten, whose last episode directing was season 3, episode 2, Anomaly, which I mentioned earlier, which we covered in our 1-year anniversary episode with my lovely wife, Kat Davis, and a new executive producer of the Computer Resume podcast. We got a few returning guest stars here, Mr. Randy Oglesby and Mr. Stephen Culp as Degra and Major Hayes, respectively. And aside from what's the name of the guy we just finished talking about?
Greylick John Cothran Jr.
Yeah, John Cothran Jr. Aside from him, the only really notable person is the guy who plays Sloth number 3. And I don't normally get into like characters that are something and a number after them. I don't really get into those that much.
I forgive you for this one.
Yeah, this one, we kind of have to mention it. Sloth number 3 was played by Mr. Sam Witwer. If you don't know who Sam Witwer is, buckle up. Here we go. His first credit was on ER season 7, episode 20. That was back in 2001. This was his first appearance in the franchise. And then he also had a short role in Star Trek Phase 2. That was season 1, episode 1, In Harm's Way. That was back in 2004. And then cracks knuckles. Here we go. 11 episodes as Crashdown in Battlestar Galactica. His band, the Crash Tones, released their first studio album titled Colorful of the Stereo, and that was released on February 15th, 2006. And then Star Wars, Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2. He is the voice of Starkiller. 2 episodes of The Walking Dead in 2010. 2 more Star Wars video games in 2012. He's the voice of Orm in 2015's Justice League Throne of Atlantis. 2 more Star Wars games in 2015. Are we sensing a pattern here? 5 episodes of Once Upon a Time as Mr. Hyde. That was in 2016. 2 more Star Wars video games in 2017. Multiple voices in Star Wars Rebels, Resistance, and Clone Wars. He was in Solo, a Star Wars tale, as the voice of Darth Maul. 5 episodes of Riverdale as Rupert Chipping. He's in CW's Supergirl as Ben Lockwood, aka Agent Liberty. He did that for 23 episodes. The Crash Tones, his band, released a new album May 7th, 2019, titled Revenge of the Crash Tones. And his most recent credit, he is the Harvester on Batman Unburied, the podcast series. So if you look up Mr. Sam Witwer's IMDb page, it is essentially one big long love letter to Star Wars. It was nice of him to early on show some love for Star Trek. So Sam Witwer, if you happen to hear this, you have an open invitation to come on our show and explain yourself, sir. No, I'm just kidding. Please, we'd love to have you on the show and talk.
He will use the dark
stuff.
side as one of 2 major characters. I have to say, because just to highlight, Sam Witwer is the official voice for Darth Maul. He is Darth Maul's voice. That is like when he's done multiple voices in these shows, but when Darth Maul shows up outside of episode 1, it's Sam Witwer. Yeah. And he does a phenomenal job as that character. And watching Star Wars Rebels and the turn that Maul takes in Star Wars Rebels is wonderful. And his performance really, really is a credit to that.
You know, we talked a little bit earlier about my lack of engagement in video games. However, one of the video games I played at length was that first Star Wars Force Unleashed game, and it is awesome. It is so much fun, and he's the main guy. He's Darth Vader's apprentice, and who ends up turning towards the light and becomes a Jedi, and it's a lot of fun. He helps establish the Rebel Alliance. Spoilers for a game that's over 10 years old.
Well, and also you say that spoilers, but they've also since undone that because the Disney buyout and erasing all the old canon. But that was the canon. Sam Witwer's Starkiller was a huge part of that, and and he keeps coming back to Star Wars because they like him and they like what he's doing, and you know what, I do too. He's great. I joked about it, but honestly, if he ends up hearing this, please come on the show. We'd love to talk to you. And also Star Trek Prodigy, get him on Prodigy.
Oh God, yes, get him on Prodigy for something, anything. Any other final thoughts?
No, this was a great one. I really, really like this episode, and I look forward to seeing more. This is re-energizing me to like, I should go back and watch Star Trek Enterprise again the way through.
As we go through it, I mean, I'm going through episode by episode of everything. I was always kind of like, you know what? I don't see what all the fuss is about. I actually kind of like Enterprise. As I'm going through now, it's just kind of like, I really dig Enterprise. It's a lot of fun. It's certainly better than most people give it credit for. It's not without its flaws. I can certainly admit that, but it is really good, and I really enjoy it.
It is a show that shows its budget.
Sure.
And that's something that is not necessarily fair. It's just at the time it happened in, shows had much less budgets than Enterprise and ended up using that a little better, but that's just, that's part of this time then in television making.
Yeah. And it's, you know what, if this is considered like the dark period of the Star Trek franchise.
Excuse me?
I'm about to lose. It's okay. Let me go ahead and barricade the door before Paramount kicks it in and takes my show away. I
would take to that. Just erase that from the continuity.
Woo!
Like Disney did to half of Star Wars.
Yeah. But you know what? If this is considered the dark period of the Star Trek franchise, you know what? It's not as dark as people make it out to be. And it's just, you can't have the light without the dark. So this is good. Enterprise is a good show. A lot of people who are steering clear of it don't. Just dive in. Yeah. Okay, maybe it's not an all the time watch. Maybe it's not a white noise show for you, but it is Star Trek. And I think a lot of things end up getting set up through this stuff. There are bright points of episode 1. Like Phantom Menace had some good parts to it. And I think we get a lot of gems. There's a lot of diamonds in the rough here.
A lot of rough sometimes, but
well, next week they say podcasts work better in threes. That's the saying, right? So next week we will be joined once more by Mr. Drew Burriss to discuss Enterprise Season 3, Episode 8, Twilight, which of course is available on Paramount Plus. Drew, where can people find you rambling about nerdy things on the internet?
You can find me rambling about many, many nerdy things at themoreyounerd.com, which is the podcast that I host with my co-host Miles, also a frequent guest on this show.
Yes.
Where for the last decade, we have done about something new every week in the nerd sphere, with the idea that we try to stay as positive about it as possible, because there's too much negativity in this world as it is. You can also find both of us on the Cosmic Crit podcast. Do you like science fiction? Do you like fantasy? Well, this is a tabletop RPG live action roleplay podcast set in the Starfinder universe, which of course has all of those things. We are in the middle of the fourth season of our show. But you can pick up whenever you'd like. Each season has a brand new cast, brand new crew that you can start. Well, I guess except for fourth season, where we're bringing back the cast from our first season to do some more higher level adventures. Nice. And of course, you can find that at cosmiccrit.com. And
I am at Mr. Todd A. Davis on all of the socials. From all of us at the Computer Resumed podcast, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in 10 Forward.
Us on Patreon and like, rate, review, and share on all your favorite platforms. Feel free to send us your subspace transmissions to computerresumepodcast@gmail.com or at Computer Resume on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Computer Resume podcast was created and produced by Mr. Todd A. Davis. Our logo was designed by Will Martin and Justin Bishop. The opening theme was produced by Justin Bishop, and our outro music was provided with permission by Dronode. Additional music was provided by Mr. Todd A. Davis and Gary Horn, and the voice of Computer Resume podcast and executive producer, me, Kat Davis. # LLAP. We'll see you next time.
Going through a Star Trek. We're doing Star Trek stuff in space. We probably got some phasers and shuttle pods, and we're gonna find a brand new race.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?